Hey guys, I'm Chase Brogan, and today in this video we're going to unbox, demo, and review this 500 gigabyte external hard drive from AliExpress. Now this right here has over 38,200 plug-and-play retro video games on it, ready to go. That's what they're advertising anyways. We got to check it out though. So we're going to unbox this, we'll take a look at the layout and design of this actual hard drive, then we'll fire it up, we'll tour through everything that this has to offer, all 38,200 plus games on here. And what's really cool is this is actually broken up into 3 parts. So we've got Launch Box, we've got Play Night for AAA titles, and we also have Retro Bat in here. So be interesting to see what this really has to offer here, if it's loaded with duplicates or if it's a seamless design and setup. So we'll fire it up. We'll also jump into some games to check on the performance. Let's get started. All right, guys, here is the box that it all comes in. We'll go ahead and start opening this up. So very nice white enclosure here for the actual hard drive. Inside here we have our power supply cable to actually power this external enclosure. We also have a USB-A to USB-A connection here as well. That's how we're going to connect the actual enclosure here with our hard drive inside over to our computer. So go ahead and move this box out of the way. We'll open this up here. All right, so right here we have a little power switch on here, so just flip that to turn it on. Once we obviously connect over our power supply and our USB-A connection. Now if we wanted to open this up, I do believe we should be able to do that. It might be one of those cases where, let me see, are there screws underneath these feet here? There's not. Okay, so I know some of them actually secure everything in place. That's not the case here, so we should be able to just simply pinch this and slide it. There we go. So we're able to just separate it that way, and then the back comes off. So I'm interested to see what brand this hard drive actually is here. So I'm going to very carefully disconnect everything. And your SATA connection's right over here, so you just want to make sure that you're really careful when you disconnect that. Make sure that you secure this if you even want to go this far. I'm purely doing this because I want to see what brand we're using. And this is actually a Toshiba 500 gigabyte hard drive here. So this is a name brand. So I'm actually really impressed to see that, because oftentimes when we open these up, we find that there are not name brand hard drives in here, and this one is a name brand hard drive. It is a reliable one, so really excited to see that. And when you want to go ahead and close this up, I don't necessarily recommend opening all this up, but for this case here today, I want to make sure that I thoroughly go through everything and find out exactly what brand name they're using here. And this was pretty impressive. So awesome experience so far. At least they're using name brand hard drives. We'll go ahead and make our connection over to our PC, and we'll fire this up and see what it has to offer. So here we are launching everything today in the launch box side of things. Now this is displaying 4,193 total games over here, again just on the launch box side, and we land in the all games list. So this is every single game that's included, again just on the launch box side, but listed in alphabetical order. So you'll see that we have all the box art here for each of these titles, and we can go down here. So if you're looking for titles, you just kind of want to roam through here, this is a great way to kind of explore what's included in alphabetical order. But over here on the left hand side, you can see all of our different collections, and we're going to go through these really quick. Each one, we'll start up here on Microsoft Xbox. So inside here we have 11 titles. You can see we have Crash and Burn, we have Drake over here, we have Halo Combat Evolved, the original Halo release, Narc, great game. We got some Shrek down here, World War II Combat, The Sims. So kind of a random selection, Psychonauts here, kind of a random selection of games here. Crazy Taxi, is that Crazy Taxi 3? I think that, yeah, Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller. Been a while since I played that game, but some pretty cool titles in here. Aliens versus Predator, Extinction as well. Don't remember that exact one. I remember the cover art though. So we've got, again, 11 games in here. We'll go to the next collection, N64 here, 393 total games in here. And I love the way that everything is consistently listed here, where we have, for the most part, the same sort of format. I mean, these foreign releases, these would be the Japanese titles. These obviously have a different format than your typical box art over here, but still, great layout. Everything's in alphabetical order, so everything's very easy to find. Games like this, definitely want to take advantage of emulation for this, because this game right here, which was a Blockbuster exclusive title, is worth a fortune. It would cost you well over $1,000 to get that physical copy of that game. So again, this is where emulation really pays off in my opinion. My all-time favorite game, Gauntlet Legends. But let's see, do we have, I saw a Pokemon in here. Let's see if we have our Mario titles. So let's just go down there. Yeah, we've got Mario Golf, we've got Mario Kart 64, we've got Mario Party, all the Mario Party games, Mario Tennis. So pretty much everything that you could think of is in here. This is a pretty in-depth number of titles, 393. We'll go to NES next. NES has 1,748 games in here. And what's cool is I'm not seeing duplicates anywhere. So that's always a good thing. And you're going to get foreign releases in here. We already established that with the previous collection, but very nice layout. Once again, we'll go down to GameCube now. So 26 GameCube games. We've got, let's see, lots of good stuff in here. Wow, Final Fantasy. We've got Hunter the Reckoning, Star Wars 2, the Lego game, awesome. Need for Speed Most Wanted, Need for Speed Underground 2, Paper Mario, Medal of Honor Frontline. Very good stuff. Soul Calibur 2, one of my all-time favorites. Super Smash Bros. Melee, Star Fox Adventures, Time Splitters 2, oh, and the original one. Very nice. Wave Race, True Crime, New York City, TAC 2, Second Sight. Lots of great stuff in here. So 26 total games. We've even got Nintendo Switch on here. Wow, Nintendo Switch. That's incredible. 7 Nintendo Switch games in here. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. We've got Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. We've got Link's Awakening here from The Legend of Zelda. Super Mario Odyssey. And then we got Flashback. We got a few other titles here I'm not familiar with. But 7 total Nintendo Switch games. And I want to just make a point of saying, just because you only have 7 games in here doesn't mean you can't add more. That's another thing that a lot of people overlook with these game drives. You can start building your own collections from what they've already provided. So for Nintendo Wii, for example, only 1 game in here. That's kind of a bummer, but you can easily add whatever games you want into the mix here. Just delete some other games in here to make room and you're good to go. Donkey Kong Country Returns, great game. Probably one of my all-time top 3 favorites for Nintendo Wii. We've got Wii U in here as well with Zelda Windbreaker, as well as Mario Kart 8. Down to Sega Genesis now. We've got 1,047 games in here. Very consistent layout for each of these titles. Not everything is scraped. You can see there's a couple titles in here without cover art, but for the most part, everything is very consistent. We have Sega Saturn in here with 27 games. House of the Dead jumps off the page at me right here. Love that. Daytona USA, another one of my favorites. Mortal Kombat trilogies in here. Quake, Resident Evil, so many great titles. Sonic Jam, Sonic R, wow, Virtua Fighter, Street Fighter, excellent. We've got Sony PlayStation, so PlayStation 1, the original PlayStation, 41 games in here. We've got some Crash Bandicoot in here as well, so that's consistent in each of these collections I'm seeing. We've got some old school Need for Speed, some Resident Evil. Wow, Director's Cut, takes me back for that one. Lots of good stuff in here, so we'll kick it over to the next collection. This is PlayStation 2, and it's showing the exact same number of games. So 41 games in here now for PS2, same as we had for original PlayStation. We've got a bunch of Burnout titles, Dead to Rights 1 and 2. What else we have? Some Grand Theft Auto in here. We've got Vice City Stories and Grand Theft Auto 3. We've got some Guitar Hero going on. Metal Slug, is that Anthology? Yes, Anthology. We've got Mercenaries, Max Payne 2, Need for Speed, NBA Street Volume 2, great game there. Some Silent Hill, Soul Calibur 2, which we also had for GameCube. Time Splitters 2, we also had that for GameCube. We've got Star Wars Battlefront here. Some more Virtua Fighter. Definitely some great games. We've got Tomb Raider as well. Let's jump over to PS3. So we've got Catherine. We've got the God of War collection, which is 1 and 2, I believe. And then we also have The Wolf Among Us, which I still haven't played. I've been actually talking about playing this a lot lately because it's always in these sort of plug-and-play game drives like this, and I've still yet to dive into it. We have Sony PSP over here with 88 games, and these are true PSP titles. I love seeing that because a lot of times we used to see a lot of PSP collections loaded with PSP Minis games, which was always misleading. There's some great titles in here. Love the Tekken games for this. Virtua Tennis you can't go wrong with. You've even got the Warriors in here. Toy Story 3, excellent. Super Nintendo now with 758 games. That's incredible. And again, just like we saw before, very consistent in here. There's a couple titles where the scraping wasn't done, but they're few and far between. So I love seeing that. So we're going to jump out of this one. We'll jump into the next platform here, which is going to be Retrobat. Now we're in the Retrobat side of things here, and hovering over all games, you can see right over the little video preview in the bottom left corner, 38,247 games, which is incredible because this entire hard drive advertises 38,200 plus games. And we have that and more right here in front of us, just in the Retrobat side. We're not in Play Night now. We're not in Launchbox anymore. I'm sure there's going to be some of the same titles here as in Launchbox, but this is exactly what was advertised, and we're only in one of 3 of the platforms here included. So we'll jump in here, and you can see as we scroll through the titles here that everything is in alphabetical order. And actually, I just jumped in here before recording, so I wanted to show you guys something first off. Notice here we have 2 of the same games, so I'm pretty sure we're going to see some duplicates in this collection, but not a huge deal. I'm going to show you guys why there's 2 of every single Game Boy Color game as we get to it. And I haven't advanced further into this yet, but this is an issue that we see a lot with plug-and-play game drives. So not a huge deal, but we have our favorites collection next. This is going to be a collection you put together yourself. Add all your favorite games in here for easy access. We have Final Burn Neo over here with 97 games. If we jump into this collection, put together beautifully. This is the way that I love to see things laid out. Notice that on the right hand side, rather than a text list, we actually have all of our logos in here for every single title, and then it populates in a video preview on the left hand side. The marquee of the arcade cabinet shows the exact same logo, and then bottom left corner we see all the information and a scrolling description of the title. So this is beautifully put together. I hope it's like this in each of these collections here, but you can see how all the games are laid out. Very consistent. Now, there are some duplicates in here, and you'll see that right here and right here is a duplicate. This one and this one are duplicates. So, yeah, there's going to be some duplicates in here to say the least. I mean, look at this. Crush Roller. How many of those are in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different titles that are essentially the same. Let's see what else we have in here. Jack the Giant Killer, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, I mean, we're already seeing that there's a lot of duplicates in here. We'll back out of this collection. Here we have MAME, 2,116 games in this collection, which seems a little bit high. So I definitely think we're going to see some duplicates in here. Now, notice how this is laid out very differently. We're just using the cover art in this case, and we have it 3 times over here. So I would love to see it looking like the previous collection, where it was just a little bit more seamless, nicely put together, but it is what it is. Not as many duplicates here, but there are still some. We'll back out. Over here we have Sufami Turbo, 2,449 games in this collection, and right there we have duplicates, duplicates again. These are different versions. Yeah, those are different versions, so that's not an issue. These were exactly the same. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of duplicates throughout this. So I think that number is padded here, and maybe that's why they advertise 38,200 plus games. We have that here essentially, but there's a lot of duplicates that takes away from the true count. So, you know, maybe they're just kind of giving us the Play Night and the Launchbox stuff as like a bonus. I don't know. Wonder Swan now with 113 games. I'm not going to jump into each of these, but Wonder Swan Color with 91 games. TurboGrafx 16 with 298 games. Nintendo Game & Watch with 59 games. We have NES with 1,933 games, and we could jump in here and just see how it's laid out. Very similar to that of the MAME collection, where it's just box art across the board in all 3 spots. Definitely not my preferred way, but you could rescrape this if you really wanted to. Here we have original Game Boy with 1,527 games. Now that seems to be a lot, but there's foreign titles in here as well, so you're probably going to get some duplicates, but they're going to be, you know, essentially different regions. You're going to have European or Asian versions, and then the American versions. So it is what it is, but definitely too many games in there. Next one over, we'll back out, is going to be Super Nintendo, 761 games. Now we have Super Game Boy, and this is what I was talking about before. I already know how this is going to play out. 1,289 games. Now if we go down, we'll skip over N64 just for right now, and we go to Game Boy Color. What do you know? 1,289 games. It's a total duplicated collection here. Super Game Boy and Game Boy Color are the same, and I'll prove it right now. We start with 007 The World Is Not Enough, followed by 10-Pin Bowling, followed by 102 Dalmatians. We can go over to Super Game Boy, and it's going to be the exact same thing. So right there, we know that we have 1,289 duplicates because each of these games are in two different collections, and it's just, putting that exact number towards the total count on here. So definitely a little misleading, but it is what it is at the end of the day. Just good to know that before obviously diving into it. Now, N64, we have 461 games. We'll jump in here, and consistently laid out, I suppose. I like the American release, titles here where they're scraped like that versus like this one right here, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day as long as the games work, right? So with that game count, I'm not even remotely concerned that it's going to be missing titles. I mean, 461 games for N64 is extensive. Now, we have 26 games for Gamecube. I want to see if we have the same games as what we had over there on the launch box side, and it looks to be exactly the same. So that's probably why they're not advertising more than the 38,200 plus games, because Retrobat and Launchbox are basically the exact same. You're going to have more collections available, obviously, on the Retrobat side of things. That's where you're going to find like your MAME and stuff like that that was not in the Launchbox side. Same thing with Game Boy Advance, DS, and so on. But everything that's in Launchbox is included over here, and we do have duplicates. I mean, take a look at this. Multiple versions of games, and this total count for Game Boy Advance was 2,782 games. There weren't that many games released for Game Boy Advance, so we know right off the bat that that's not an accurate count for the amount of games included on here. Nintendo DS now, 78 games. We have Nintendo Wii, which is one game. I'm sure it's the same one as before. On the Launchbox side, it is. Wii U, same games. Yep. So 13 games for MSU1, Nintendo Switch 7 games, same exact ones. Atomic Wave, 23 games in here. We'll take a look at Atomic Wave. So not laid out beautifully, but there are some good titles in here nonetheless. Backing out, we have SG-1000 from Sega, 98 games. We have Genesis with 1,206 games. Sega Game Gear, 406 games. Genesis 32X, 37 games. Sega Saturn, 27 games. Dreamcast, 34 games. Now, I want to see what we have for Dreamcast. Dreamcast has, let's see, Virtua Tennis, my all-time favorite game, Crazy Taxi 1 and 2, Dead or Alive 2, Evolution 2, Soul Reaver, this was Jet Grind Radio, awesome. Marvel vs. Capcom, both of those, love those. Power Stone 1 and 2, definitely got some good stuff in here. San Francisco Rush 2049, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Soul Calibur. Got some Street Fighter, House of the Dead 2, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Wow, a lot of my favorite games in here, so that's awesome to see. Sega Naomi with 54 games. Wow, that's pretty impressive. 54 titles over here. Let's see, so then we've got some light gun games. Oh, wow. Giant Graham, All Japan Pro Wrestling 2, the original one as well. Giga Wing. Very nice. Some very good titles in here. A lot of titles that you don't typically see, like this one right here. Don't see that a whole lot in these plug and plays. And I assume then with all these, you have to have WWF Royal Rumble, which is probably my all-time favorite for this collection, or at least one of them. Wow, Tokyo Bus Guide. There it is. Yeah, so WWF Royal Rumble is in here, which is cool to see. All right, we'll keep it moving. Neo Geo System, 151 games. Neo Geo Pocket, 82 games. Neo Geo Pocket Color, 89 games. Original PlayStation, 43 games. PlayStation 2, 41 games. PS3, 91. Oh, excuse me. PSP, 91 games. PS3 just has the 3 games. So, again, yeah, Retrobat is a lot of the same titles as Launchbox, but it does give you a lot more. So far, this is where I would go for everything retro, but we definitely have to go in and check out Play Night now for our AAA titles. Alright guys, here we are now in Play Night. So if we actually go over here to this little pie chart here, we'll see that we have 46 total games included on here. And here's our game list here. There's a couple different ways that you can change the layout. So like you could do it like this if you want to. Actually, I'll probably leave it like that because it gives us a bigger image there rather than just a text list. So You can see we got Brotato in here. You got Chicken Police. Not really big into either of those, but we've got Cuphead in here. We've got some Double Dragon. We've got Final Fantasy. A bunch of Final Fantasies, actually. Flippin' Cactus, Hades 1 and 2. Little Nightmares, which I'm actually a big fan of. Limbo is also pretty cool. We've got the Metal Slug. Attack Reloaded over here. What else do we have? Neon Abyss. So there's a lot of games in here that I personally am not into, but these are a lot of games that you'll typically find on like your Game Pass and stuff like that. So over here, great game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. That's the best title in my opinion that I've seen so far on here, and that's pretty much it. So it gets you started. There's not a lot of games that would really knock my socks off here, to be perfectly honest, but still cool to have nonetheless. We'll jump into some gameplay demos from Retrobat Launchbox and from over here as well, and we'll see how everything performs. But so far, a pretty cool offering here, to say the least, at a rock bottom price point. Alright guys, we jumped in here, we tested out this 500 gigabyte external hard drive loaded with what's advertised as over 38,200 plus retro video game titles ready to be played. Now, this is broken up into 3 parts. We toured through all 3 parts. So you have your launch box, you have your Retrobat, and you have your Play Night in here. Play Night's going to be your AAA titles. I really didn't find anything all that exciting in there. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. Phenomenal game. Love that game. I have actually 2 copies of it though, so it was nothing new for me, but still a great game, and if you haven't played that, you'll really enjoy that. There's definitely some cool games on that side of things, in the Play Night side, but nothing that personally resonated with me where I was like super excited to play it. I'm a huge fan of Little Nightmares, but I have those games as well, so it really didn't add anything new to the mix for me. But for Retrobat and Launchbox, I had a great experience jumping in there. There's tons and tons of great games. And one thing, as I mentioned during the touring process of this, as we're combing through things, one thing I think a lot of people overlook is they think that when you get one of these, you got to live with what's on there. No, you can customize it. You can get rid of games you know you're never going to play. You can add games into the mix that you want to add in that aren't already included in here. So this is a great starting point. Not everybody's going to like the same titles, so certain collections were awesome for me. Dreamcast had a lot of my favorite titles in there, but then like stuff like Gamecube, there was a little bit of disconnect for me. PlayStation 2 is very limited, PlayStation 3 is even more limited, so it just depends what you're into and whether you're going to find it on here or not. But it really does deliver a lot of great options and a great starting point for you. Now, 38,200 plus games, that count is way off. Let's just be honest here. There's tons of duplicates on here, and Retrobat's probably the way that most people are going to jump into retro video game emulation on here, because all the Launchbox games can be found on Retrobat, but not all the Retrobat games can be found on Launchbox. So you're going to get the best experience possible just jumping into Retrobat. There's really no reason to jump into Launchbox. I like the layout and design of it. I like how easy it is for the user to comb through and find what they're looking for, but you're going to get way more access to things going into Retrobat. So I think most people should just go in that way, honestly, unless you really hate Retrobat's layout. I don't, though. I think it's great. So that's how I would enjoy this. But yeah, there's duplicate collections in there, like the Super Game Boy and Game Boy Color, as we saw, exactly identical. So you end up inflating the games. There's a lot of duplicates, especially in the arcade collections. Some of the other ones as well, some of the home console collections had several versions of the same game. So just don't hold them to the number that's being advertised, because it's just not accurate. But let's talk about the price point here. $30.70 for this. I mean, if it had like 3 games on it, it could be worth $30.70. And we already opened this up. We saw that this has a Toshiba hard drive inside here. That's a name brand, very reliable brand as well. I've used many of the exact same hard drives here. I actually have some that I'm still using to this day, and this is years later, so they're very reliable. And definitely it's worth more than $30.70. So it's really, nothing that I'm going to get bent out of shape over here. I think that the price point is amazing. You really couldn't ask for much more at $30.70. And again, prices do fluctuate. It's currently at 43% off. So even if it was doubled, even if it was triple, even if it was quadruple this price, I think it's worth every penny, to be perfectly honest. Now, I did test this for viruses and malware. I didn't find anything that was an actual threat. With emulation, you're going to have some stuff that gives you a false positive. That's what I experienced on my end. I can't vouch for every single hard drive that people would, receive through AliExpress, of course. I'm only testing one right here. This one was safe. I didn't have anything concerning found on this. I tested it with 3 different malware and virus detectors. Everything came back clean. There were a couple, like I said, false positives, which I looked into, realized that they were safe, and I've been doing emulation now for many years, and I am familiar with what is a false positive, what is safe, and all that stuff. So just proceed at your own risk. There's always risk involved whenever you're plugging in anything that you haven't set up yourself. We've even seen mini PCs and PCs in general that came from the manufacturer, came from warehouses to customers that are opening their product up brand new, and they've found malware and viruses on there. So you always have to be careful, scan everything, verify what you find before, hooking it up to your network and all that stuff. So just be careful, do your due diligence. But I had a great experience here. I did all of that, no problems whatsoever. And again, for that super low price point, you can't beat it. So definitely take advantage of it if you're looking for something like this, I suppose. But, see if it offers what you're looking for, and if it's worth it to you, it's a solid option, and it definitely gets you a jump start to getting set up with a retro gaming emulation setup like this. So that's my experience here. Let me know what you guys think of what this has to offer in the comments of this video. You guys know the deal. Give me a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed the content today. If you want additional information on this drive right here, click the link in the description of this video. That's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you on the next video.